Hi there, you're watching Updates at Noon with me, Mohammed Amin Carlos. Our top stories, will civil servants urge to bring change and lead Malaysia back to its glorious days. International authorities dismantle drug trafficking super cartel. Good afternoon. Well, civil servants have been urged to work together with the government's leadership to bring back Malaysia to its glorious days. Well, Prime Minister Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim said he wants the civil servants to inhibit the spirit of Islah, or bringing back a situation to a correct, accurate and appropriate state for the sake of the country.
Negara ini memerlukan perubahan. Suatu tahap yang pernah kita capai dulu, malangnya merosot. Merosot itu baik ekonominya, baik kestabilannya, ataupun disiplinnya. Dan tentunya Tansib Guam Negara tahu tentang pelanggaran hukum, termasuk isu-isu penyelewengan dan rasuah, yang kadang-kadang juga ada kaitannya kerana kelemahan pimpinan kaitannya dengan peringkat penjawat awam.
Datuk Seri Anwar said this in his first meeting with staff of the Prime Minister's department in Putrajaya this morning. He added that despite the changes of governments and leaderships, civil servants remain in place to uphold the country's system and law. Well, based on his experience as finance minister before this, the Premier expressed his optimism to be able to carry out his duty responsibly for the sake of Malaysia and its people. Well, 3 men were killed while another 5 were injured in an accident involving 2 vehicles at kilometer 15 Jalan Kluang Tek Wahing, Kluang, Johor yesterday. Well, Kluang Police Chief ACP Bahrain Muhammad Noor said the accident involving a Placer X van and a Proton Wira occurred at about 4 p.m. Elaborating further, ACP Bahrain said 2 victims died at the scene. The car driver, Muhammad Haziq Haikal Muhammad Faisal, aged 20, and the car's back seat passenger, Muhammad Khairil Rosli, 17. Well, the car's front seat passenger, Arifuddin Khairum Abdul Ghaffar, aged 21, meanwhile died at the Inche Besar Hajah Kulsum Hospital while receiving treatment. The 5 injured victims include another passenger in the back of the car and a family of 4 who were passengers of the van. They are all currently still being treated at the same hospital. Well, according to ACP Bahrain, preliminary investigations indicated the accident happened as Muhammad Haziq Haikal lost control of the car and entered the opposite lane before colliding head-on with the van. Now, the car was traveling from the direction of Kluang. As a result of the collision, the car driver and the backseat passenger sustained serious injuries and both died on the spot. He also said the van driver and the passengers were a family comprising a husband, age 43, wife, 42, their 2 children, 15 and 11. Well, the case is being investigated under Section 41, Subsection 1 of the Road Transport Act 1987. The Department of Irrigation and Drainage, or DID, has issued flood readiness notices for several areas in Johor, Perak, Kedah, Pahang, Selangor and Negeri Sembilan. The DID announced in a statement yesterday that based on the Malaysian Meteorological Department, or Met Malaysia weather forecast, the Southeastern Asia Oceania Flash Flood Guidance System and DID flood prediction models, there were risks of flash floods in several areas in those states should heavy rain or significant thunderstorms occur. In Johor, Johor Bahru, Jelutong, Tanjung and Kupang, as well as Pontian, like places Jeram, Batu, Sungai Karang and its surrounding areas, are the areas affected, while in Perak it involves Larut, Matang and Selama, including Hulu Selama, Hulu Ijok and Selama. In Kedah, notices were issued for Bandar Baharu, places like Sungai Batu and Kulim, Terap, Temerloh, Semantan and Bentong, Sabai and its surrounding areas in Pahang, Hulu Selangor, Ulu Bernam and Hulu Langat, Ulu Langat in Selangor as Glami Lemi and its surrounding areas and Kuala Pilah like Langkap and its surrounding areas in Negeri Sembilan. The statement also said these readiness notices have been issued to enable residents in at-risk areas to be prepared for the possibility of flash floods. The Congress of Unions of Employees in the Public and Civil Services, or QPACS, hopes that the government will give priority to civil servants who are capable and competent to fill key positions in the public sector. Its president, Dato' Adnan Mat, said political interference in the appointment of civil servants should be avoided to ensure those appointed are able to do their best to help the cabinet ministers. Elaborating further through a statement release, Dato' Adnan said there should be no favoritism, especially in the appointment of key positions, because it can affect public service operation if those appointed are not competent. He said it is feared that officials who are appointed because they are the quote, favorites, unquote, of certain politicians might not be able to carry out their responsibilities effectively, especially in advising their respective ministers. He also noted that QPACS has no problem with qualified political appointees, but to ensure the smooth running of a department, it is better to appoint only civil servants when there is a change of government. He added that these political appointees will resign or may be forced to resign when there is a change in government which could affect public administration and give a negative perception towards government services. While the COVID-19 pandemic has had a tremendous impact on the tourism industry, it has also opened a great window of opportunity for rethinking and reimagining the future of the country's tourism. Well, Tourism, Arts and Culture Ministry, MOTAC Secretary General Dato' Saraya Arbi said as the pandemic and multiple crises would continue to disrupt the tourism sector's growth trajectory, the industry needed to be more sustainable, inclusive and less susceptible to shocks. Well, commenting further on the matter, Dato' Saraya said the ministry had taken initiatives to boost sustainable tourism, including creating unique experiences that leveraged on Malaysia's rich multi-racial character, culture and arts, as well as maintaining the nature, ecotourism and green technology. Well, she said when sustainability is discussed, it should be linked to the culture that the country has, and it is important to protect, preserve and conserve it. She also noted that it is important to think of everything that needs to be developed and maintained regarding the culture. The MOTAC Secretary General was saying this at the opening of the World Tourism Conference 2022 recently. Dato' Saraya further noted that despite challenging global economic headwinds in 2023 and beyond, experts have great expectations for the tourism sector, predicting continued pent-up demand alongside new growth opportunities and emerging niche markets arising from the pandemic. Malaysian exports rose 15% year-on-year to 131.6 billion ringgit in October this year, with Pulau Pinang posting the highest exports at 7.1 billion ringgit. Now, Malaysia's total trade in October also jumped 21% to 245.2 billion ringgit. In a statement, the Department of Statistics Malaysia, or DOSM, said according to the export-import statistics by state for October released yesterday, higher exports were also recorded in most states, such as Johor with 4.8 billion ringgit, Sarawak 3.7 billion, Labuan 1.7 billion ringgit, Sabah 1.4 billion, Kedah 1 billion ringgit, Negeri Sembilan 453.2 million ringgit, Perlis 43.5 million, Kuala Lumpur 41.8 million, Malacca 38 million ringgit and Kelantan 17.7 million ringgit. However, exports decreased in Selangor 1.8 billion ringgit, Terengganu 581.2 million ringgit, Perak 404.6 million ringgit and Pahang 330.6 million ringgit. Malaysia's total trade for October amounted to 245.2 billion ringgit, an increase of 21.1% year-on-year, with exports of 131.6 billion ringgit, that's 15%, and imports worth 113.5 billion ringgit, 29.2%. Chief Statistician Muhammad Uzair Mahirin said imports also increased by 25.6 billion ringgit, that's 29.2% in October on year. civilians killed as hours-long Somalia hotel siege ends. Stay tuned. Well, Europol said police have dismantled a huge drugs super cartel that controlled a third of Europe's cocaine trade, arresting 49 people in various countries, including 6 top suspects in Dubai. The huge international operation seized 30 tons of the drug and also involved arrests in France, Spain, Belgium, and the Netherlands, as the EU's police agency said in a statement. Well, Europol said the drug pins, considered as high-value targets by Europol, had come together to form what was known as a super cartel, which controlled around 1/3 of the cocaine trade in Europe. Now, the scale of cocaine importation into Europe under the suspects' control and command was massive, and over 30 tons of drugs were seized by law enforcement over the course of the investigations. Well, Europol said Dubai had arrested 2 high-value suspects who are linked to the Netherlands, another 2 linked to Spain, and 2 more connected to France. 13 people were arrested in Spain, 6 in France, and 10 in Belgium, while 14 people were arrested in 2021 in the Netherlands as part of the same operation, it said. Now, Dutch prosecutors said they would request the extradition of the suspects from the United Arab Emirates. The public prosecution said these are serious criminal offences pertaining to international drug trafficking, mainly from South America via the ports of Antwerp and Rotterdam. Well, Somali security forces ended an hours-long siege by Al-Qaeda-linked insurgents who killed 8 civilians after storming a prominent hotel in the capital Mogadishu, as the police said. Now, the terror militants attacked the Villa Rose hotel, popular with politicians and government officials, in a hail of bullets and explosions on Sunday. Well, around 21 hours later, National Police spokesman Sadiq Dudushi told reporters that the clearance operation in the Villa Rose Hotel has ended. The terrorists killed 8 civilians who stayed in the hotel, and the security forces succeeded in rescuing about 60 civilians injury-free. Sadiq, however, noted that 1 member of the security forces died in the attack. He added that there were about 6 attackers involved. 5 of them were shot and killed by the security forces, and 1 of them detonated himself. The authorities have given no details about the identities of the casualties. The heavily guarded Villa Rose is located in a fortified area of the capital, a few blocks from the office of President Hassan Sheikh Mohamud. Its website describes the hotel as the most secure lodging arrangement in Mogadishu, with metal detectors and a high perimeter wall. Al-Qaeda terrorists, which has been trying to overthrow Somalia's central government for 15 years, claim responsibility for the attack. East Africa community heads of government met in Nairobi in a show of solidarity to find a sustainable peace process for the troubled region of Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo. Now, these talks came just days after African leaders declared a ceasefire in a summit in Luanda, Angola, with the aim of stopping attacks renewed by the M23 rebel group. Well, former Kenya President Uhuru Kenyatta urged groups that were yet to honor the ceasefire to do so expeditiously in order to give way for humanitarian assistance to fleeing residents sheltered within IDP camps in the North Kivu province city of Goma. Kenyatta said the armed groups that are yet to cease hostilities to honor their commitments to cease armed activities and to grant unhindered humanitarian access and the full deployment and the operationalization of the East African Regional Force. Despite billions of dollars spent on one of the United Nations' largest peacekeeping forces, more than 120 armed groups continue to operate across large swaths of eastern Congo. The 7 countries of the EAC, which Congo joined this year, agreed in April to set up a regional force to help fight the militias. Uganda will be the 3rd country to deploy troops after Kenya and Burundi. A self-declared white supremacist pleaded guilty on Monday to shooting dead 10 African-American people during a racist live stream rampage at a supermarket in the U.S. state of New York earlier this year. Peyton Gendron, 19, will spend the rest of his life in prison after admitting one state charge of domestic terrorism motivated by hate over the massacre in Buffalo in May. Now, Erie County District Attorney John Flynn said Gandran had pleaded guilty to all charges, including 10 counts of murder in the first degree and 3 attempted murder charges. According to prosecutors, Gandran had planned the attack for months, targeting Tops friendly market in Buffalo because of its large surrounding African-American population. He drove from his hometown of Coghlan, more than 322 kilometers away, with the intention of killing as many African-American people as possible. And wearing heavy body armor and wielding an AR-15 assault rifle, Gandran shot 4 people in the store's parking lot, 3 of them fatally, before entering the supermarket. Among those killed inside was a retired police officer working as a security guard. He fired several shots at the assailant before being shot himself. Gandran wore a helmet with a video camera attached and live streamed the attack on the platform Twitch. He is the first person in New York to be convicted of the state's domestic terrorism charge, which was introduced in 2020. It carries a penalty of life without parole. Gandran still faces federal hate crime charges that could see him receive the death penalty. Well, the world's largest active volcano, Mauna Loa, burst into life, spewing lava and hot ash on Monday for the first time in 40 years. Well, pressure has been building at Mauna Loa for years, and according to the United States Geological Survey, which reported the eruption could be seen from 72 kilometers away. Now, the eruption, which began shortly before midnight Sunday, was initially contained within the caldera, the concave area at the top of the volcano. But volcanologists said Monday lava was now escaping from cracks in its side. The agency said there was currently no threat to people living below the eruption zone, but warned that the volcano was volatile. And based on past events, the early stages of Mauna Loa rift zone eruption can be very dynamic, and the location and advance of lava flows can change rapidly. Well, experts also caution that winds could carry volcanic gas and fine ash downslope. Authorities in Hawaii have not issued any evacuation orders, although the summit area and several roads in the region were closed and 2 shelters have been opened as a precaution. An ashfall advisory has been issued downwind of the volcano, with a light accumulation of ash expected on ships in ocean waters along the Big Island southeast. Now, one of 6 active volcanoes on the Hawaii Islands, Mauna Loa, has erupted 33 times since 1843. Its most recent eruption in 1984 lasted 22 days and produced lava flows which reached to within about 7 kilometers of Hilo. Next, well, we kick off our sports segment with hockey. The national men's hockey team got their International Hockey Federation, or SAHIH, Nations Cup 2022 campaign off to a poor start when they fell 1-0 to South Korea in South Africa last night. Now, the match at the Northwest University Astro Stadium in Potchefstroom was almost a repeat of the final Sultan Azlan Shah Cup, which saw Malaysia fended off South Korea to end their 39-year wait to win the cup. However, the momentum was not in the match as South Korea shot into an early 5th-minute lead in the Group B match through a penalty corner goal by Jang Jong-hyun. The Speedy Tigers tried to get back into the game, but to no avail, including failing to capitalize on 2 penalty corners and 1 penalty stroke. Now, Malaysia now sit at the 3rd spot of Group B after Asia Cup champions Japan defeated Canada 3-0 in another Group B match. The national team will next meet Canada in today's matchup before squaring off against Japan on 1st of December. In the local football scene, Bundesliga giant Borussia Dortmund scored 2 goals in each half to thrash Malaysian treble winners Johor Darul Takzim or JDT 4-1 in an international club friendly at the Sultan Ibrahim Stadium in Johor Bahru last night. Now, the dominant Germans needed just 11 minutes to draw first blood through Justin Jinma before making it 2-0 in the 31st minute through Doniel Marlin following a goal-mouth melee. Undaunted, the hosts managed to reduce the deficit 10 minutes later through a fine effort by JDT's best young player, Arif Aiman Hanapi. The second half saw both Dortmund and JDT making several substitutions, but the outcome remained the same as Dortmund went on to add 2 more goals. The visitors' third goal of the night came in the 60th minute when Ole Polman rammed home a fine cross from Kan Ozkan before Samuel Samba wrapped up the proceedings with goal number 4 in the 69th minute. JDT, fresh from completing a domestic treble by winning the Malaysia Cup on Saturday after bagging the FA Cup and Super League crown, tried to give it a go, but to no avail. Well, moving on to the World Cup. Now, Bruno Fernandes scored twice to give Portugal a 2-0 victory over Uruguay this morning and send them into the knockout stages of the World Cup alongside France and Brazil. Now, with Portugal already through, Uruguay must now beat Ghana in their final Group H match to stand any chance of also progressing. Now, Portugal dominated the first half, hogging the ball and creating several chances, but without ever testing Uruguay goalkeeper Sergio Rochet. Now, Uruguay, he had not touched the ball, thus denying him a 9th World Cup goal, which would have put him level with Portuguese great Eusebio. Now, Uruguay coach Diego Alonso threw on forwards Maxi Gomez or Mahim Gomez and Luis Suarez as the South Americans belatedly began to exert some pressure. Gomez's rasping drive from 20 yards came back off the post with. In another match, Brazil defensive midfielder Casemiro took a break from putting out fires to score a scorching goal that sent his side into the last 16 of the World Cup with a 1-0 win over Switzerland in their Group G clash early this morning. Now, Brazil, who were without in a dull first half, but showed more threat in the second period. Now, Vinicius Jr. thought he had put Brazil ahead in Group F with 6 points after 2 games, 3 ahead second-place Switzerland. Casemiro's late goal won him the Man of the Match award and spared Brazil's blushes. Meanwhile, the minute when he helped dispossess Tariq Lamptey and fired in a cross that Cho attacks to score a dramatic equalizer. Well, Ghana, who would have been eliminated from the World Cup had they lost. Cameroon striker Vincent Aboubakar came off the bench to score 1 goal and set up another as the indomitable Lions rescued a point in their 3-3 draw with Serbia on Monday that ended a run of 8 successive World Cup losses for the African side. Now, Jean-Charles by Nico and keep Cameroon alive in the competition. And that wraps up updates at noon today. Now, a reminder of our headlines. Civil servants urged to bring change and lead Malaysia back to its glorious days. Don't forget to tune in again to news at 10 tonight on saluran Berita RTM. Or you can also catch us online at RTM's or RTM Clicks website and mobile app. Until then, I'm Mohammed Amin Carlos. Goodbye. Take care.